Dear listeners, have you ever found a secret that made you want to unlearn everything you knew about the person you loved most? Tonight's sender is Sarah, 42, from Dublin, Ireland. She says it started with a single digital trace found on a brass flash drive. I'm reading her letter now. Dear Heartlines Love Story Radio, my name is Sarah. I'm 42 years old, and I live in Dublin. It's past midnight now. The mist from the Liffey has crawled up to my window, turning the streetlights into blurry yellow smudges. I'm sitting in the room we used to call the library. It smells like dust, and the cold tea I forgot to drink 3 hours ago. I'm writing this because I finally realized that some stories aren't meant to be preserved. Some are meant to be burned. Heartlines, I've spent 15 years at the Trinity Archives. I know how to handle fragile things. I know the exact pressure it takes to turn a page from the 1800s without tearing the fiber. I know that if you leave a document in the light too long, the ink fades. I thought I'd applied that same clinical care to my marriage with Arthur. We were a reference-only couple. Quiet. Reliable. We lived in a temperature-controlled environment of habit. The morning toast. The shared crossword. The silence that didn't feel heavy. Heartlines, when he died 14 months ago, I didn't cry in public. I just started the long process of filing him away. I labeled the boxes with black ink. I donated the wool coats that still smelled like his cologne. I treated his death like a collection that needed to be closed and shelved. The floorboards creak under me tonight. A sound I never noticed when he was alive. Heartlines, I spent my days organizing other people's history while mine sat in boxes. I thought the archive was complete until I reached the bottom of his mahogany desk. Heartlines. The desk was the last thing. It sat in the corner of the room like a heavy, solid oak tombstone. I ran my cloth over the surface, feeling the grain beneath my palm. Inside the very back of the pencil drawer, tucked behind a stuck divider, I felt something cold. It was a brass flash drive. He'd used a label maker to put 2 words on it. Reference only. Heartlines. In my world, that means you can look, but you can't take it home. It means the information is restricted. I assumed it was boring. Property deeds, insurance scans, a backup of his tax returns. By 2 a.m, the drizzle started hitting the glass in a steady, aggressive rhythm. I plugged it into my laptop. The fan in the computer started to whir, a small mechanical heart beating in the dark. I expected a list of PDFs. Instead, I found a single folder titled Letters to S. My heart didn't race yet. I just felt a small, clinical spark of professional curiosity. My name starts with S. I thought I was opening a digital inheritance meant only for me. But the woman who appeared in the first video had blue eyes. Mine are brown. Heartlines. The woman on the screen wasn't me, and the way Arthur looked at her changed the air in the room. The woman's name was Siobhan. She was younger, with a messy, wild energy that didn't fit in this house. In the videos, Arthur wasn't the man who checked the locks twice and preferred tea in the garden. He was laughing. He was filming himself in his car, parked outside a bakery in Howth. He held up a white paper bag and told her he'd bought her favorite lemon tarts. The crinkle of the paper sounded like a landslide in the quiet of my office. Heartlines. I checked the date on the file. June 2022. We were in Italy that month for our 15-year anniversary. I remember him taking long walks along the coast to clear his head before dinner. Now I saw where his head actually was. I watched 3 more videos, my scalp tightening with every second. Each one was a goodbye. he had filmed during his final 6 months. Heartlines. He told Siobhan he loved her. He told her about a secret bank account he'd set up for her. He told her he wished they'd had more time to be unfiled and free. I sat there until the space heater clicked off and the room turned icy. I realized I wasn't the keeper of his history. I was just the person who shared his mortgage. Then I saw the final video, recorded just 3 days before he went into the hospital for the last time. In the final video, Arthur's voice was a rasping shadow of itself. He looked tired. His shoulders had a heavy, defeated slump that I'd attributed to the illness. Now I knew it was the weight of 2 lives. He looked directly into the lens and said, "Siobhan, I've left the drive with Sarah. She's a librarian. She'll know how to get this to you. She's the only one I trust to keep it safe until you're ready." Heartlines. He was using my soul as a courier service. He was betting on my inability to break a rule. He wanted me to be the archivist of his betrayal. I asked myself if he was a monster for asking, or if he just knew me too well. He knew I believed in the sanctity of the record. He knew I hated missing information. I stared at the brass drive. The metal felt hot against my skin, like it was still burning with his secret. I thought about Siobhan waiting for a phone call that would never come. I thought about the 14 months I spent grieving a man who had already moved on. Heartlines. That's when I realized he wasn't confused about who he wanted. He was choosing her, even from the grave. I had the power to complete the file. Or I could be the one who finally broke the system. I didn't call her. I spent the rest of the night looking for a reason to be the good librarian. But by sunrise, the Dublin mist had cleared, and the library felt like a cage. I looked at the brass drive one last time. I thought about the reference-only rule. Some things are too fragile to be shared. Some things are so toxic they shouldn't circulate at all. I dragged the letters to S folder toward the trash icon. My finger hovered over the trackpad. My jaw was set so tight it ached. Heartlines. I clicked delete. The computer didn't make a sound, but the air in the room felt lighter. I walked to the kitchen and put the brass drive into the junk drawer. It's tucked under a pile of dead batteries and old house keys that don't fit any locks. It isn't a secret anymore. It's just lost data. Claire, and to everyone listening tonight, especially those of you sitting in the silence of a house that feels like a museum, thank you for giving my love story a place to land. And for the first time in 15 years, I'm not keeping anyone's records but my own. Heartlines. Some archives are meant to stay closed forever. Sincerely yours, Sarah. Dear listeners, Sarah spent her life learning how to archive and preserve physical objects. It's easy to think that if we just apply that same logic, we can fix a heart. But love isn't a reference file you can just organize and protect. It's a living system. It's a messy, unfiled truth that breathes even when we want it to stay still. Sarah, thank you for trusting us with that truth. I'm listening, and I know our community is too. You spent your years cataloging the world. You kept the ink from fading on paper, but you couldn't stop the truth from fading in your own hallway. Arthur spent his final days betting on his wife's integrity. He believed her professional code would act as a bridge for his betrayal. He thought a librarian could never bear to see a record destroyed. But he forgot one thing. An archivist's job isn't just to save everything. It's to decide what is significant enough to keep. Dear listeners, sometimes the most honest thing you can do for your own history is to let the unauthorized parts burn. Love isn't a suit you can tailor to fit a lie. And it certainly isn't a museum where you're forced to be the curator of your own pain. Dear listeners, was Sarah right to delete the videos to protect her own peace? Or did she commit the ultimate sin by erasing a history that didn't belong to her? Can you ever truly trust the memory of a man who asked you to be the guardian of his secret? Is a legacy still a legacy if it was built on a foundation of silence? Dear listeners, tell me where in the world you're listening from tonight. I see the lights on in the comments, and I want to know your thoughts on Sarah's choice. If these stories keep you company, feel free to subscribe and join our community. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll meet you again in the next story. You've been listening to Heartlines Love Story Radio. I'm Claire Hart, your narrator. Thank you for spending your time with me.
Tomorrow feels like sunlight spilling through the blinds. I don't know if I'll reach it, maybe I won't mind. I keep returning, tracing steps I left behind, as if the past could teach me what I'd like to find.